Ask us anything about depression.
Ooh. I want to ask you things.
Well, I want to ask you things.
Oh.
Okay. Wait, what? Mended Light. All right, we polled our Mended Light community, asked them what they wanted to ask us about depression
Yeah.
and working through it.
So I'm going to ask you what they asked us.
Okay, here we go.
How do I handle thinking I'm to blame, like I'm not doing enough to make my life happy? How do I find the line between making excuses for myself for making bad habits and being kind to myself for my good habits? So I have some thoughts.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot of judgment tied to that question. Like you're evaluating your worth and your belonging, right? Making excuses for bad habits and being kind to myself for good habits, right?
Yeah.
That's where I love to bring in the conversation of putting down the judgment and picking up self-compassion, right? Because it's not about things being good and bad. It's, is this serving me? Is this supporting me?
Yeah.
Is this nurturing me? Is this giving me the love and the understanding that I need to become the person that I am, but don't feel capable of right in this second?
And I think of the question, thinking I'm to blame. I'm not doing enough to be happy in my life or to yield the outcomes that I want. As you mentioned, there's a lot of judgment in that statement, but the idea of blame is who deserves to be punished? Who's the loser? Who's the person who sucks, right? And we feel like there has to be someone. But that's not a learning and growth mindset. That's not a healing mindset. That's a judgmental mindset. To strip the judgment away from it, because you don't change with judgment and shame. You don't change by saying good habits versus bad habits. You change by saying, does this serve me, right? Does this serve me? Does it not serve me? And the beautiful thing about that, the beautiful thing about stepping away from good and bad, is that I can look at something and I can say, this did serve me.
Yeah.
This behavior served me. It helped me to survive. It got me to where I am. It doesn't serve me now. It's like being on the monkey bars. At a certain point, you have to let go of the rung that got you to where you are, right, in order to move forward.
That question is formed in such a way that they're internalizing their judgment, which is a very human response to our challenges, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a trick maybe our mind plays on us because, well, if it's my fault, then I can control it.
Yeah.
Right? But when we internalize our behavior and turn that inward, then we've over-identified.
Yeah.
And then the depression is me instead of I'm experiencing depression.
Right. This is who I am.
And so we need to separate ourselves and see it as something we're experiencing and not something we are.
And I don't mean to pick apart the wording, but the wording speaks to the state of mind of the person who asked the question.
Right.
And what they said exactly is, how do I find the line between making excuses for myself for making bad habits and being kind to myself for my good habits? Here's something, a bold idea. Be kind to yourself for all of it.
Yeah.
Okay, not just the good habits. And when I say good, the things that serve you, right? The things that work for you. It's important to celebrate your growth.
Yeah.
It's important to celebrate your strengths and your accomplishments. It's important to, that's a crucial part of loving yourself. Equally crucial, or maybe even more crucial, is to not see the person who makes mistakes or who acts out of alignment with your values, to not see that person in you with shame or with self-loathing, but rather to see a person who's trying. That is so crucial. And it's hard to think that way sometimes because we are so taught that our worth is performance-based, that our actions determine our worth, and it's not true. So how do we get out of this cycle? By recognizing that our worth is innate, that our worth as a human being just is, it just exists. And then with curiosity, we can look at, does this serve me? Does it help me meet my goals? Does it help the people that I care about to feel loved and supported? Or is it not working? I have so much success in the therapy office with this whole idea, because if you try and tell a person in a therapy office or in life
Yeah.
that what they're doing is wrong or bad you will get so much pushback. And you will get a whole list of why what they're doing is right and why what they're doing is okay. And then you get caught in this back and forth. I sidestep that entirely. I don't tell someone what they're doing is bad or wrong. I simply ask one question. Is it working? Is it working? They say, well, like, I want a closer relationship with my kids. Okay, is this working? Because most people will tell you what they're doing is good and justified, but they can own, no, it's not working. And if they say, yeah, it is, then I say, then why are you here? And they go, okay, no, it's not.
Realizations are the worst.
But how crucial it is, instead of good or bad, just to say, is it working? Is it serving me?
And then how do you meet yourself with compassion, right? Because if you've done something and you can see in the moment that you're like, oh, it's not serving me, it's not supporting me, it's not working. And instead of meeting yourself with that judgment, how could you do that? What's wrong with you? I can't believe you did that again.
Yeah.
Which those talk tracks, like, I don't know about you, but I think we all relate to.
Yeah.
Like, we've all had those talk tracks in our head. And so instead of going down that spiraling internal conversation saying, oh, darling, talk to yourself. Oh, darling.
Yeah.
Oh, sweetheart.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
I call myself Big Kahuna, but it's all just affirming language towards yourself.
That's what you say?
Yeah.
Big Kahuna?
Hey, Big Kahuna.
So use Big Kahuna or oh, darling. And just say, hey, you know, you're trying to help yourself. And you did something that hurt more than helped, and it's okay. And have that compassionate conversation internally instead of having that judgmental conversation. Because so often I think we try and judge ourselves into change. And especially when it comes to depression, it's like, well, here's what I need to do, here's what I need to do. You judge yourself into taking action, and then you criticize yourself for not taking more or different action, right? And so instead of judging yourself into action, love yourself into action, love and compassion yourself into action, and then after you do the small things, celebrate.
Yeah.
And this sounds silly, and this isn't necessarily like a depression thing, but like, I hate long drives. I hate them. I hate them. I don't like doing them. I had to do a few recently, and driving's not hard. And instead of sitting there and being like, I hate this and I have to do this for another 12 hours and what's wrong with you? Like, it's just driving. It's not like you're driving a team of horses. Like, I start telling myself what a good job I'm doing driving.
Yeah, she does.
I'm like, oh, darling, look at you go.
Look at you go.
And so that celebrating is so, so powerful. So one, love yourself into action. And then once you take that action, to celebrate that action, even if it's so small.
Amen.
Next question about depression. How do I find my inner why? During bad episodes, it's hard to find a proper reason to get up and do the things I need to do. That'll help me feel better. And the reasons to give up are many more, which makes it much harder.
You know, something that I learned from you and from all of the reading that we've done for our podcast on our membership site is that motivation is a fair weather friend. And that if you are waiting, something that I tell people in this circumstance is if you're waiting until you feel better to do things, you won't do them. Mm-hmm. You have to do things in order to feel better. And so when you're in a depressed episode, doing even the smallest of things can feel like a mountain to climb. So in our membership, we covered this book called Tiny Habits, which talks all about this.
Yeah, well, and this book was so, so good because the way we've been told to go about creating successful habits is like completely not true.
Yeah.
And we're not going to dive into that right now here in this video, but if you're interested, check out our membership site. But there are the ABCs of being successful at habits, and finding your inner why, especially when you're in a bad depressive episode, having tiny habits set up in a successful way, it is what you need instead of motivation, because motivation is your fair weather friend. Yeah. And so you want to break it down so small. Like, what is the smallest step that I can do and not fail, right? Yeah. And so they do the ABCs. They have an anchor moment, they have a behavior, and then you celebrate. Yeah. And so your anchor moment is something that you do already, right?
Like I use the toilet, right? Yeah. So for him, he wanted to get in shape, And so every time he would use the toilet, he would do 5 push-ups, which is not a big deal,
Yeah.
but it was something he could do no matter how sad or tired he felt.
Yeah.
I use the toilet, I do 5 push-ups. And you might think, well, big deal. Until you're doing 100 push-ups or 200 push-ups, it doesn't really matter, but it makes a huge difference in your brain.
Right. And he broke it down so small that he was like, okay, I can do this,
Yeah.
and I will always succeed. And so then you do the behavior, and then you celebrate. And the celebration needs to come milliseconds after the behavior.
Yeah.
And there was some, what was it, a Marvel movie? Like when Iron Man, he does something, and then he goes,
Yay!
yay! Yeah.
Well, it's in Avengers Age of Ultron, and he finds a trapdoor and opens it, and he's by himself.
Yeah.
And he just has this little, quietly, yay! Just
Yeah.
like this little
Yeah.
celebration for himself that he did it.
Secret door, please be a secret door, please be a secret door.
Yay!
Right. So whether it's a little song or a dance or, a clap or a whoop, like whatever it is, and like getting yourself an ice cream wouldn't count because that takes too long. Like it's got to be milliseconds after, but we don't talk about how important it is to celebrate. And I think especially when you're dealing with depression and anxiety, that celebration aspect.
Yes.
Because so often you do the small thing and then you judge yourself for not doing more.
Yeah.
That celebration aspect is huge in rewiring your brain.
So very often we shame ourselves when we accomplish something small and we're like, that's pathetic, that's nothing, that's not even worth celebrating. Other people accomplish real things, but that just keeps you down.
Yeah.
The fact is, anyone who accomplishes something big starts with accomplishing something small and doing it consistently. That's how you move forward. So, how do you keep moving forward? It's the celebrations, that's the fuel.
Yeah, so I want to talk about different ideas of ways to celebrate, whether it's singing a song that you love, or a physical movement, or some sort of visualization, like just seeing light like rain down on you.
Yeah.
And fill yourself up. Like whatever it is, I feel so strongly that we need to celebrate who we are in a genuine way more often.
Yeah. So what are some of your celebrations when you accomplish these tiny steps? What do you do?
Well, it has to be something that feels genuine to you.
Yeah.
And so just copying what someone else does might not feel genuine.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I really resonate with Iron Man where he goes, yay. Because that's totally something I would do.
Yeah.
Or singing a little song or doing a little dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it depends in the moment, but celebrating who I am and what I've accomplished. And that is a huge opportunity for growth because even when I accomplish big things,
Yeah.
I don't stop to celebrate them,
Yeah.
which is something, you've pointed out. And it's such an important part of our growth is learning to celebrate us. So what do you do?
I text a supportive person, honestly. I text you a lot, sometimes to say like, here's what I did, and here's, it's to update you because our lives are entwined as parents and as business partners and things like that. But it's also because you always send me these really happy gifts that say, way to go, great job, right?
Yeah.
It's very affirming. And so that's what I do is I text a supportive person. What we want to know from you is what do you do to celebrate the small things? Right? What do you do when you don't feel like you can go on, when it feels too heavy, you can't get out of bed? What small steps do you take? And how do you celebrate taking those small steps? Let us know in the comments below. To continue this journey, we've got a video called It Takes a Community to Heal from Trauma. Because a lot of us are depressed because of trauma that we've gone through. So how can we lean on our communities? Until next time, folks, keep shining. We need your light.